Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will present our topic in Group 5 in the application of Article 40A1 of the Federal Constitution on the function of the YDPA and the example of the situation where the YDPA has exercised discretionary power to act of his own accord, and this group consisting of 4 people, namely Shakira binti Basri, metric number 1213348, Shazwani binti Baini, metric number 1212349, Nurul Ain binti Nizar, metric number 1212350, and Hazwani binti Ibrahim, metric number 1213352. Introduction of Federal Constitution. The Federal Constitution is the highest set of legal guideline of Malaysia. It may be described as a frame of political society organized through and by law, also has established permanent institutions with recognized functions and definite rights. The Malaysian Constitution is a written constitution. The Malaysian Constitution has rightly been described as based upon the Westminster model. Constitutions are drafted by specially appointed commissions. Constitutional supremacy. The constitutional supremacy means that the constitution is supreme over the parliament and the parliament can exercise its functions be only within the bounds of the constitution. Constitutional supremacy is possible only where the constitution is written and rigid. This constitutional supremacy is also called judiciary supremacy, and the sin that the judiciary, the highest court of the land, is supreme over the legislator.
My name is Shakira binti Basri, number matric 1213348. Today I will explain about doctrine of constitutional supremacy. Article 4 bracket 1 of the Constitution. This Constitution is the supreme law of the Federation and any law passed after Merdeka Day, which is inconsistent with this Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. This provision is important in order to prevent chaos or collapse, particularly when there is a conflict between federal and state constitutions or between ordinary statutes and the constitution. For example, cases of Muhammad Bidaud versus Government of Malaysia. The applicants were charged under a new section 298A under the Penal Code, a federal law. The new provision made the doing of act on the grounds of the religion that had the likelihood of causing among others, disunity, etc. between persons of the same or different religions is an offence.
Next, Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Yang di-Pertuan Agong, also known as the Supreme Head of the Federation's paramount ruler or King of Malaysia, and he holds office for a period of 5 years only. YDPA also is a symbolic appearance of the executive, legislature, and judiciary, and they have 2 elections of YDPA. First, hereditary. It's only 9 rulers of the states are eligible for elections. Second, elective. One of the 9 rulers is elective from among themselves to hold office for a term of 5 years on a rotation basis. The YDPA also may be removed from office by his fellow ruler, assembled in a conference of rulers. And for current YDPA is Sultan Abdullah Pahang, which is Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah, Ibni Almarhum Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah Al-Mustain since 31 January 2019. And the YDP's Queen's name is Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah, and known as Raja Permaisuri Agong. The function of Yang di-Pertuan Agong. They are the head of the three branches of government. First, executive. The YDPA has the power to appoint a cabinet of ministers, judges, and the cabinets. According Article 40 of Federal Constitution, that the YDPA in exercising the rule shall follow the advice of the cabinet as well as consider the advice given by members of the cabinet. Although acting of the advice of the cabinet ministers, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong may act at his discretion in the three functions of the constitutions. To appoint a prime minister. Second, agree or disagree with the request to dissolve parliament, and to request that a meeting of the conference of rulers be held solely on the positions, honor, and greatness of the king, and to take actions in that meeting. Second, legislatures. The legislature's authority of the federations shall be vested in a parliament which shall consist of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and two majlis to be known as the Dewan Negara and Dewan Rakyat. And all implementations of law passed by parliament require their recognitions before they can be enforced. He also must recognize the new law within 30 days after it is passed by parliament, and if he disagree with the bill, he can refer for reconsiderations. And third, judiciary. EPA appoints all judicial personnel except magistrate outside the federal territories, such as Chief Justice of the Federal Courts. And Yang di-Pertuan Agong has power to grant pardons and respite all the offences which have been tried by court martial and all offences committed in the federal territories.
Next, the application of Article 40A(1) of the Federal Constitution on the functions of the YDPA. They have three. 1. According Art 40(1) and 40A(1) of the Federal Constitution provide that Yang di-Pertuan Agong in exercising its rule shall follow the advice of the Cabinet. 2. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong may request the Prime Minister to reconsider an advice if, in his opinion, the advice does not comply with any provision of the law. The last one, in managing differences of opinion between two sides, every opinion of YDPA needs to be respected fairly and should be given consideration by the Prime Minister, because ultimately the YDPA needs to act on the advice of the Prime Minister.
My name is Hazwani binti Ibrahim, metric number 1213352. Today I'm going to talk about the YDPA may act in his discretion in the performance of the following function. There is three functions, which is the first one is the appointment of Prime Minister. Secondly, the withholding the consists to be the request for the dissolution of Parliament. The third is the regulation of meeting of the conference of rule concerned solely with privileges, position, honor, and duties for their Royal Highness, and also any action as such a meeting. First and foremost, the appointment of Prime Minister, which is how the YDPA appointment the Prime Minister. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also has the power to renew the appointment of a Prime Minister each time after an election until the Prime Minister decides to resign or lose a majority in the election. Not only, but also the Yang di-Pertuan Agong has the power up to appointment senior federal official under the theme of the Constitution and various acts passed by Parliament. Next, we move to the withholding of consist to the request for the dissolution of Parliament. The request for dissolution of Parliament in Article 14(2)(b) erroneously used the word dissolution of Parliament. This means is dissolution of the Dewan Rakyat. This is because Parliament is defined in Article 44, which is consists of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, the Senate, as well as House of Representatives. In addition, in strict law, the Senate is never dissolved. It is prolonged under Article 55, which is 2, and constitutionally remains in abeyance when the House of Representatives is dissolved or renewed at general election. Furthermore, under Article 55(3), Dewan Negara Senator have a term of 3 years, renewable for one more term. Under Article 54(3)(a), their tenure is not affected by dissolution of a Dewan Rakyat. For example, if a government that is defeated at a general election requests an immediate second dissolution, but the monarch believes that a stable alternative government can be formed. If a general election during a time of crisis of emergency could prejudice the nation's interests. So, if a prime minister, having loss of the poll for his party leadership, seek for improve his political fortune by requesting a dissolution of by Dewan Rakyat. Last but not least, we are going to the revisitation of meeting of the conference of rule consistently with privilege, position, honor, and also dignities of their Royal Highness. The first one, the conference of rulers generally meet triennially or 3 times for 1 year. Yang di-Pertuan Agong and also 3 members of the conference request it. However, the keeper of the rules still may convene a meeting of the conference of rule, which consists of 9 conference rule in Malaysia. So, meeting will be convened not later than 4 weeks before at the end of the 5-year reign of Yang di-Pertuan Agong. So, each Malay rule generally takes turns chairing each meeting. Not only, but also the agenda is generally outlined and made known to the rule period of the meeting. In other words, according to Article 14(2), the King may at his discretion by in any other case mentioned in this Constitution. This means that should be interpreted narrowly and confined to those areas where the Constitution covers the spirit must be clearly. So we move to a case in India. In India, 1980, the President asked for a report of the Commission of Inquiry into the Boffer arms deal. So, Rajiv Gandhi, who was Prime Minister, failed to send the President. Consequently, the President will ask legal advice whether he could dismiss the Prime Minister for that failure. At the end is, the PM got the message and surrendered the full report.
The conclusion. First, the Malaysia Constitution was written with the explicit goal of separating authority between the executive, legislature, judiciary, and Malay rulers. 2. The federal constitution is highly essential in a country since it is a law and contains laws and principles that serve as the function for the construction of a government to preserve the people's peace and well-being. 3. The constitutions also serve as a guide for the government in exercising authority and administering the country fairly and equally. 4. The constitutions also serve as a solid framework for preserving administrative continuity and political stability. 5. The constitution, on the other hand, ensures an effective, honest, sincere, transparent, and fair administration, as well as the people's right to live in the peace and harmony as citizens.